G'day guys, thanks for turning out, I appreciate it. The intention tonight is to explain anything that you might not know. So if I haven't covered anything at the end, shoot me all those questions. I'd love to help, love to answer things. And also if you have a trick or two up your sleeve that I can learn, I'm always keen to get something, make myself a bit better. I think before I start, I'm going to quickly just walk over there and I'm going to go and grab a loop, because the only thing I didn't bring is a loop. Bear with me, be right back. All right, sorry about this, a bit more professional now. So I've got a loop here, a cray loop. This is just a standard 1 meter one. And I'll start here. So my name is Bert, Old Man Blue. Hopefully you all know that. First, thank you very much for Lauren for letting us use Adrena tonight as a base, and WAUC Club for always being part and being behind Old Man Blue. They've just supported me from the beginning. So all you guys part of that, thank you so much for the support. Guys, I'll start from scratch. So I think the most important thing is first to talk about the snare itself. There's a few snares out in the market, and probably the first question, as somebody that didn't know anything, what question should you ask? So the first one I would ask is, most important, is anything dissimilar metal? So meaning, if something is stainless steel, everything has to be stainless steel. So it means, like for instance, if you cover stainless steel, like here where it's covered, as soon as you cover stainless steel in the ocean, doesn't matter if it's your boat, yacht, you cover it, you just start corrosion because it can't breathe. Stainless steel needs to breathe. So look out for anything that covers stainless steel. That goes for your knives, it goes for everything. So always remember, if you buy a piece of stainless steel, don't cover it because you will have corrosion. So that's the first thing I'll look out for.
Sleeve as well?
This year actually breathe. So it's got little tiny holes. The only bad thing on the whole loop is my name. A sticker on it is the worst, but don't pull the sticker off because then people don't know who the loop belongs to. But that's the worst part of a loop, is the sticker. There's a non-corroded, yeah, I wish, mate. But anyway, I can't get it perfect. So that's the negative of the loop, is the sticker. So you never put anything. So I've seen guys tape it up. I was just thinking, you're going to have to buy another loop because you're just killing your own loop. But hey, if they know better, let them go for it, I always reckon. So that's the thing. Everything has to be the same. So it means our ferrules. My boy cut all my ferrules for that's his pocket money. And we make our own ferrules because you can't buy stainless steel ferrules. The spring inside here, we make our own spring. So I make it out of a very high-end stainless steel spring steel, and there's only 2 of us in Australia that brings it in. So I know that I've got a quality product. So I can buy 3 or 4, but I can't buy what's in here. So I'll make my own. The rod itself, the tube, everything is from Taiwan. So I get basically a piece of paper saying that this is virgin stainless steel and it's quality. So when you buy a loop and you go, I just paid much more, it's because I also paid much more. I can buy the crappy stuff, and then you're going to hate me for it because the thing doesn't work. So I buy quality. Now, once I've done that, to explain, there's 3 components to it. You've got your tube, you've got your round rod, and you've got your, what they call a wire rope or stainless steel cable, if you may. Now, that's what makes up a loop. So internally, the spring is what it's all about. That gives you that sort of bounce. So what I always say is, when you buy a loop, always push it down like that and let it go. And if it doesn't come up, buy the other one. The other one will be better. Because once you're underneath the hole and you want to get that cray, and like especially those big old jumbos, and you go around the back of a tail and you let go, and you're swimming for dear life up to out of a cave and out there, and you're not worried about the cray anymore. When you get to the top, the spring is what's going to bring that crayfish up to you to the top. So invest in the one that can do that. If it doesn't do that, don't buy it. It's basically not the right one. That's the first thing. The other thing that is probably very important, I'll just quickly go over there, is when you open a loop, you want to make sure that the loop opens like that. Now, some loops lay forward or they lie at a straight angle. So the problem is when you have something, like say if I want to go behind your head and I want to catch something, and I can go in like this, so I have to go in like that. And if it open up in a straight angle, you can't get to the back of a crayfish. So the idea is that look for a loop that opens up at the 90-degree angle to your distance that you're going in. So in, open. That's the biggest secret. Now, there's a couple of ways of doing it. When I go in behind a crayfish, I try to avoid these two feeler things. They're pretty smart and intuitive. And I try to avoid that and try and turn my noose that way. So it's away from the crayfish. So my crayfish is sitting here and I'm moving this to the side of it. And then only do I turn in. Now there's times, like especially with the jumbos, we've all been there in the back and they hold their ground. One of my little tips is, same thing, go past them, don't let them move. But now comes the problem, I can't see their ass. So I want to get around that tail end, but I can't see the tail end. It's gone. Then what I do is I take this part and I just give it 2 or 3 good little taps right on the back here. Just give them a couple of love taps and then the thing will go forward. And as it goes forward, you open up. And then with my hand, I sometimes hold it like this, and with my hand, I just go like that, and it will run back in to the actual loop. So it catches itself. A little bit of a trick to it, but if you try a few times, you will master it. And that's a good way of getting that troublesome crays that sit at the back of a hole. Love tap, come out. Now, let's find crayfish. What I always say is swim, swim, swim. Like, that's the best thing for crayfish. Find the ground that you like. Doesn't matter where it is. If your mate say, hey, this is the best spot, and he knows as much as you and you both don't know that much, then just look at it as a learning curve. Go, yeah, you take that. You might get your crayfish, but I didn't see anything. I just want to have a look. Then swim a bit around. Don't be sort of just, oh, it must be in this room. I've been in places where I swim along and I have a ledge like this, and suddenly this is a crack right here, and it's in the middle of nowhere and it's open, and that crack opens to a room that size. And if I didn't swim, and that little ledge that looked like nothing, if I didn't go into it, then, you know, I would have missed completely. Now the next thing is where to find the crayfish. I normally try to keep shallow with crayfish, especially if I want to do it all day. So when I say shallow, to me, I try to keep it above 10 meters. When you start diving at 17 to 25 meters, I find myself, you get like quickly, like, you know, completely rooted after a half an hour, hour's dive. And then you lose that, the passion that, to me, crayfish should be fun. It's all about the hunt. It's not about how deep you can dive. Go and hunt something, that's when you do that. But when you dive crayfish, don't be sort of think, oh, I need to dive 17, 20, 25 meters. Yes, they have air, but so many times crayfish is in less than 10 meters, and sometimes even less. Find the ground, gnarly ground. Now, what I do is I swim around, and then I'll look for sandy spots. So what you'll have is your weedy spots, and then suddenly you'll get like this sort of sandy area. Those pockets of sand amongst the rocks stop dead. So many times, that's telltale that there's crayfish around. There's that little, this is like something different. It's just a little bit of sand that opens up. Have a look, stop. And any other thing that I find, as soon as you find the sandy spot and you find that little bit of dancing kelp, that is jumbo country. It's that sandy and dancing kelp, because you know now you're in an area where there's going to be caves. So look for, it's like a little greeny leaf. They're always on the opening of any big entrance. Wherever I've dived around Perth, that's what I look for. I look for that sandy spot and I look for that dancing kelp, because for whatever reason, maybe there's a current that run around the cave entrances. I don't know why it's there, but it's there. So look for a telltale sign like that. Other things that sometimes give it away is if you see the shells from an Oki. Oki would be living in a front entrance. Look for that. I don't know what their names are. I'm terrible with names, but you get, I call them little jewfish. It's those little bug-eye fish, you know, the little dart-looking fish that keeps around jewies. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Schools of them. As soon as you see them, stop. They tell you there's a cave. They're not going to be there if there's not a hole. I've never seen them where there's not a hole. Stop. These are all things to look for. So try and look at the ocean and the gifts it's going to give you, like that sandy patch to tell you there's a hole. Now, once you've got the hole, what I have done through the years is I always go into the hole, and sometimes I wouldn't even take the snare. I would leave the snare out, especially if I haven't been into the hole the first time. Swim in. Don't go with this mindset, I want to get the crayfish. Leave it. You might miss out once or twice. It doesn't matter.
What size hole are we talking about?
Oh, sometimes it could be just a hole as deep as this table, but other time your swimmers from this table to the back of it. Oh yeah, no, the hole could be small, it could be big, it could be cave size. I mean, I've been in ones that you can park my ute in. I've got a cruiser ute, it's that big. So depending on the hole, they're all different size, but the entrance doesn't have to be big. I find that with our sandstone environment, the entrance can be tiny, that you just fit through. But once you're inside, it can be big. Now, this is the part where I wanted to say is stop if you don't feel comfortable. This is where there's nothing to prove. No crayfish is worth your life. Stops all the hunting, takes all the fun out of it, and you're a long time dead. So don't go and hunt in holes that you can't. But once you've found that hole and you feel comfortable, maybe just swim once in and have a look in the hole. Take your torch, sign around, go, yeah, I like the look of it. Now, a lot of the time with holes, I find is you look at like this, because this is the level that you swim in. Now, once you find it comfortable to go into that hole, and this is, I love holes. And the guys that know me, it's you show me a hole and like a little fox terrier. I'm whatever, Jack Russell, whatever, those little dogs are that goes into the holes. I'm just like one of those. I just off and back into the back of a hole. What I found is when you lay like this in a hole and you look in front of you, sometimes you see just one or two crayfish. But what I found is if you actually go into the hole and go and lay still, sometimes the crayfish is in front of you, right where you swam in, is another ledge. So it's a question of going into the hole, turn yourself around in the hole, drop back and look. Because the reason is, if I go into a hole and say this was the gap here, I go into here, and once I'm over here, this side of the hole, there's no current, no ocean movement. It's still. Crayfish love this. They like that pockets where there's no movement, they're comfortable, it's a little comfortable home for them. They come out at night to hunt, but during the day, that's where they hide. So find their little hiding spot, which is in the back of the cave like that. Now, if you're not comfortable, don't go into the environment. That will come. Like I have never met anyone so far in all my years of diving that stays on the outside of a cave forever. There's going to be a time where everything just aligns and your body just tells you, hey, I'm ready to go and swim a bit deeper. But trust the ocean. It's just not worth it. If you have any panic attacks or anxiety and tells you don't go into it, listen to the ocean. Every single time in my life that I've always almost drowned or lost my life or whatever, it's my arrogance that got the better of me. It's me going, I can, when the ocean told me deep down, I can't. Just listen to it. It's not worth taking a chance. Now, once you're in it, this is where the next thing comes is anyone here by any chance bought a cray loop tonight? Mate, you put your hand up first. Where's your cray loop? Have you got it?
I got 3.
Yeah. Have you got one? Anybody got a cray loop here now? No. Okay. That's all right. I'll take this one. Now, what I suggest is, I wanted to just rig up this quickly and just to show you this, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do it on their one now. But Adreno sells our little torch bracket. I specially made this torch bracket because it sits on the side and it's very easy. You undo that wing nut and it opens up and it literally just clicks on and your torch just pushes through. And I went for this bracket initially because the torch itself, I think it's like $50 or less. So it's a cheap torch. Why I go for that torch is the beam is not that great. It's not like I can point in, I can see the fridge over there. It's like, you know, I see the tripod over there. And that's the sort of light you want for crayfish. You don't want that light that can shine to the back of a room there and you can see everything. Crayfish hates that. You'll shine them once and the next moment you shine, you go, where did they go? Because you blind them. They hate it, they're off. But if you buy this sort of torch, it's a nice soft light. And the nice thing about it is, I've been up north and we all have fancy torches, all these charged torches, and you don't have a charger. That happened to all of us. And you're thinking, great, you're whoopity-woo. You know, you can't go to the local servo and buy a charging battery. They don't have it. So none of us have a torch at work. We have a torch like this, cheap. It goes 2 little penlight batteries. You pop it, and you can get any server will sell it to you, and you're ready to go and roll. So you can always get out of trouble with this specific torch, and it's quite heavy duty. Now, the nice thing is once it's on your actual torch with it, on your noose, you have the ability to take this torch mount and swing it in or out. So it means that if you feel that you're going to blind your crayfish as you're going in, you can turn it to the outside and the light will shine off the crayfish. Or sometimes you want it on the crayfish, then that's also good. So you can decide which works for you. What's nice about it, if for me, myself, I find having a torch like this rather than in my hand is one less thing. I don't know about who dives a lot here, but I must be honest, I probably lost 6 or 7 torches from my life for getting it in the cave because I'm so happy getting the jumbo. I'm like, yeah, I got one jumbo, and I'm thinking, I wonder what happened to that torch. Because you're in that moment of, I don't know, euphoria, getting that big old jumbo. You just, everything else really doesn't matter. And then after you're thinking that was $130 or something, and then it does matter. So I don't know if anybody has been there, but that's why I like that. And then also for me, it makes a T year like that. And when I swim with my torch in my hand like this, and I can swim for hours with my snare like that. It's just nice and comfortable. So that's the thing about it. Now, a couple of other things about our cray loop that I like, and what we've done is on here on the outside, there's a little blue line. It's there on purpose. So when you have, say for instance, a cluster of kelp sitting in front of a crayfish, you can see the crayfish, sort of, and then by the time you move, you go, I have no idea where the loop is. And I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, you're completely blind and you're going, oh, I don't want to stuff that sense of I've got one chance and I don't want to lose it. So this is where this comes in very handy. You look at where this is. So when you open this, sorry, let me just hold it like that. When I open this tells me exactly where my loop is. So if I turn it this way, I know my loop is there, turn it there. So when I'm like that, I'll look at my loop and now I can sort of see, okay, if I turn it like that, it's probably where the crayfish is, and I'll let go and I'm all right, I'll get it like that. And then the other thing as well, so just talk about this, is a lot of the times, especially up in Geraldton, there's so many of these caves where the crayfish will sit up in the ceiling. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, where you go into that mossy stuff and they're right above you and go, oh, you beauty. Now, they're pretty hard sometimes to get. So with them, what I do is I will go in with my loop and I can actually turn it like that. Can you see what I'm doing? So I actually manipulate the noose to where my cray is. So you can actually just by hand manipulate this part, and then once it is ready, then let go and it will grab it. Now, I think I've talked enough about the actual loop itself. I don't think of maybe, yeah, that's all the things. So probably this is the part, I've been doing it now for quite some time, and the thing that I get mostly that come back is people go, oh, my loop don't work anymore. And that is the most common thing, and that happens to everyone. It's like you're swimming around, and let's just say this is a cave year, and then you're swimming for dear life, you've got this beautiful jumbo year, you want to go, and then the next moment is like that, and you just keep going. And the next moment you come out, and this is at a 90-degree year. And that happens to me more than I like to admit all the time, because I'm like a little Jack Russell that just concentrate on my cray. So when you have that big bend, that's where this happens. So this is actually one I brought real life. These are all returns, and I cut them up, and I just thought, let me bring back what happened. So like for instance, this one got returned and a person was complaining that their loop wasn't working anymore. And it wouldn't, I agree, it wouldn't work. So how do we fix it? So that, I thought, sometimes it's nice to know things go wrong, but it's not a problem. Things can be fixed. So I'll show you this one first. So afterwards, what I would like to do is get a couple of people up and have a go yourself. So there's my bend. Now, if you're not very good at it, look at your bend. Find, obviously you can put it on something, whatever. Find a straight edge, go, oh, there's a high point. Now, if that's the high point there, take a marker, a Sharpie, pull a line there for yourself on top if you have to. That gives you that. Now, this can be done on the vessel. So if it's the loop and that was where it was, you would put it into there. Now, I'm going to do it just with this because I don't want to obviously brand new loop stuff it. So you put it in. So pretend this is the gunnel of a boat. There's my bend. And then suddenly I then see, okay, where's that again? There it is, right? So now I've got my thumb on it and I can just manipulate it. And then suddenly your bend is less and so on. So I'm not going to do too much because I actually want you guys to bend it and bend it straight again and have a go on somebody else's stuff. And that way, if you don't get it right, it doesn't matter. Now, the other thing is this year was a complaint I had about a year and a half ago. From I started, I probably had 15 or so complaints. So I do make mistakes and some of them has been my issue. But from the complaints has taught me so many things. I could actually better my product. And today I feel if it wasn't for those guys knocking the gear, I couldn't better it. So with the spring, this is what you get inside your snare. And this is the thing that makes it work. It's really quite responsive, and we anneal it as well. So this, what has happened with this one, as you can see, hopefully you can see on this one, you got your spring over here that's nice and compact and neat. And then you got this little pissy part here that's sort of open. And then there's another little section here that's a little bit tighter, but also open. And then you got this last section that's sort of weird. Now, this guy was complaining. He said, oh, my snare used to work, but now it's not working. The spring is gone inside it. And what was weird is when he came to me, this was still stuck on top. And as you can see, if you turn it, it will actually grab the old spring, but it was broken there to that bit. So what happened is when you have this inside your tube, everything is quite a close fit. So that's why I brought it. So to show you, you got your rod, you got your spring, and you got your tube. So it's a lot in a very small area. Now, if you go in your scuba dive, especially, swim around and you just leave it in that gunk, like meaning the sand and shell grit and stuff, it fills this whole barrel. Maybe just before you swim again, just take it and, hit it so that the stuff can fall out the back, and then it'll be fine, but don't force it. So if it falls and you feel it's not working, then don't go and either pull or push, because this is what this guy's done, is he pushed so hard and the shell grit has held and it's actually broken the spring. And that's the same thing. If you have enough bends, it will do the same thing. So you damage your spring and eventually you will break it. So what I'm trying to get at is as soon as you feel a snare going, it's a lot of money. So don't go and force it. Swim back to the boat, straighten it, feel it again. It should always run smooth. If it's not smooth, you'll lose your crayfish as well because it's not reactive. So something to think about. Now, just a quick one while I'm here. All our gear at this point in time is made right here in Western Australia. And I can get things made at a fraction of a cost if I send it offshore. But as soon as I send it offshore, I don't know what stainless steel they're using. I don't know if they use the similar metals. I have no control. And then suddenly, I'm a very proud person and I never want to be caught out and have egg on my face because it hurts. It's not, I take it personal. So I don't want that. So I'm very stubborn. But in the same time, I believe that we have such great minds here and such great skill, and we don't make enough here. It's like we got lazy, like we buy everything in, and a lot of the products is inferior. So all we do is we buy something and we discard it, and not to preach, but we're just adding to landfill, and it's not a feel-good feeling. So what I'm trying to do is build things for people at last. So I find I'm getting older now, but especially when I was younger, I somehow always end up, I don't know about how many of you guys here is the one that always swim with a bag. I don't know. I don't know. I'm either very stupid and dumb and I go, oh, Bert is going to have a bag. And I swim around with his bag and it's fine when it's light. But I used to have this beautiful posse bag, the old posse bag. And I used to love this thing because it was bulletproof. And this thing used to become a sea anchor towards the end. So I love it the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes. And then 2 hours I'm looking for my mates and I'm thinking, guys, the bag is back there. And they go, yeah, but you're going to get it? Anyway, so it's what I'm trying to get at is there must be an easier way. So what I done was when I was a kid in South Africa, I dived a lot of kelp beds. And anybody that's dived kelp beds, you know that, good day, mate. And when you dive for a kelp, it is painful pulling things through kelp. It is so tiring. And we used to, as kids, we used to take something similar to this in a little inner tire, preferably with a mini or something like that, small. And we used to put our stuff in here, and then you swim through the kelp and you pull it over and hold onto one kelp and pull it, and so on and so on. And this is where this idea got born. But the problem was, as soon as you get to the shore side and there's any light breaks or whatever, normally you get dumped once or twice, and then half your catch goes back into the drink again. And as a young fellow, that used to break my heart, because you just being half frozen. I remember mums always would like put cups of honey tea when I got home. But anyway, it was that cold, and then half your catch is lying back there because the bag didn't work. So then about, I can't remember, in early 2000, I had a Mackie and this big giant, what do they call, not slimy cod, what do they call them, groper things on the floor? Estuary cod. And an estuary cod came up and got my Mackie. So I had my feet on its jaws, and I was pulling the Mackie trying to get it out. And it's a tug of war, and this thing would not let go. It was just like, it was amazing. It was inside years, just these little things that just hold like this. And I thought, nature's given us the perfect one-way valve. So this is where this got born. This is based on an estuary cod's throat. So basically, when you shove something in, it's in. It doesn't come back out. So you can turn this bag upside down and shake it. But the nice thing about it as well is when you go through the water, what I'm trying to say, if you buy a bag, think this is going to be your sea anchor. Think about it. Like, no matter how, you're going to pull this thing through the water. So make sure you buy whatever one it is. Don't look at the colors. Don't look at anything. Just think, I'm pulling a sea anchor and I want the Lee sea anchor. So that's why we made this. Because when I was a commercial fisherman out here from Frio, I used to catch muleys with Dad. And this is the net that we use on the bottom of a muley net. So it gets dragged along our bottom. So you know yourself what it looks like down the ocean floor. And that was the net that lasts. So I just went back to what I know. I know that this takes a belting and will last. And the nice thing about it, if it gets a hole in or whatever, you can sew it up. And the same thing goes for this. Is just general shock cord. They got a cheap version in Bunnings. It's not UV protected Bunnings one. This is made in Australia. This has got UV. And anything like that, I know you said you got a problem with one of them, with this being worn out because you've used a lot. I'm happy to supply anybody, just things like that. Phone me up. I buy this by the bulk, and I'm happy to throw some in a parcel for you and send it out. You can do it yourself because it's easy to fix. So what I'm saying is, this is not landfill. So as far as catch bag, buy the catch bag that works for you. If you're a novice, please don't buy one of those little catch bags that hang on the front here like this. That will kill you. I used to dive with it myself, and the amount of times I had to undo it and underwater because I'm stuck in a hole. It's just, I was young and stupid, and I'm still a bit stupid, but not young anymore. The point of this is good sea sack or similar catch bag is important, a nice float to swim around. And then as I'm swimming along, I've always got from a float, I always just got any of your old lead weights, just tie something on it, throw it down, it will find a little happy home, and you mark. So your mates can go, oh, Bert has been on the same hole, or you see where the bag is. And that tells everybody to come to that bag and then dive the same area. Because I find with cray diving, unlike spearfishing, people wonder a bit. But the bag and the float is like always brings people back. So a good float that you can see, a line that holds it in one place, that's crucial. So that people, and nowadays with boats, even better, get a flag on it. Saves your life. Guys, I think as far as a cray talk go, I can keep going on, but I think it's better now for you guys to ask me questions, any questions regarding crayfish that I could maybe answer.
With the snare, so if something does go wrong, what's the best way to dismantle it?
Now that's the to be honest with you, there is no way. That's the easy answer. So what happened is, when I dismantle it, I cut it right there. So I just pull it apart. So once it's actually like dismantled, so then I pull out everything. So it's been welded. So when I TIG weld it, it's what keeps it together. That's the last two things I do. I TIG weld this, and that sort of finished the loop. If I was smart enough, if somebody is smart enough in this group that can make this for me, that it can be removed, these two ferrules, and some sort of like with a little grub screw or something, then people can do this at home, and I'll be open to it. I'm not smart enough. I haven't figured it out. I've tried a whole lot of different things. They always want me to go to dissimilar metals, and when I talk about stainless steel, most guys look at me, I'm crazy, why would you want to do it? And then the other thing is they go, oh, you want 10,000 of them? And I go, I would love to sell that many loops, but I don't think so. So to answer your question, no, there's no easy way. I do recycle things. So what I always say to people, bring it back to my shed. I rebuild the whole lot for you. I put a new round bar in it. I put a new wire rope onto it. I put a brand new spring. So you get a brand new loop. The only thing I recycle is the tube. And I normally charge somewhere between 75 and 85 bucks for that. So it's very minimal, but it covers, it doesn't really cover much, but what I'm trying to say, at least I know that the thing keeps going. And then also, I don't know about you guys, when you have a loop that works, it becomes a little bit of an extension of you, and you don't even like your mates taking because you worry they'll lose it. So yeah, quick funny story. A friend of mine, Cameron, I hope he sees this afterward. We're diving Rockingham Way, and he comes back to the boat, and he's in the foulest mood. I mean, he's just nasty, and he gets on the boat, and he's like, I've lost my brand new loop, and it was a setup with a torch and everything. And he just goes on and on about how he's lost like his torch, loop, and everything. I go, mate, back off. I said, swallow that. You've lost my loop. And he lost my loop, and you should have seen his face. It was priceless. It was so nice to see, you know, like really from anger to just go, what do I say? But he was wonderful that day. Guys, any other questions?
So the straightening rod, you will do it while the rod is in there.
Yeah, so like points,
Fix the spring,
you can't, but normally 99.9% this is your culprit. Because if you have enough bends in it, when you force these bends, and there's more and more bends that you didn't straighten, because some guy goes, yeah, I'm a spec expert, I can straighten. I've not once ever met anyone who can straighten a spear or a rod over his leg. I want to meet that guy. I put the challenge up, I'll give him a crayfish loop if he can straighten it. I want to see that. It's like a challenge. So anybody who can straighten that in front of me over their leg perfectly, I want to see it. The thing about it is, your leg is rounded, whereas if you've got a sharp edge, what the tube provides, you have a perfect holding and you can manipulate it. You can't do it over your big leg. It's not possible. So, and the nice thing about it is you don't need tools for it. It's on a boat. So you can do it on boat, you can do it on land, you can even do it in the water. Like I've got a 2-meter loop, and I would say out of every 3 crayfish I get on that 2-meter loop, and I use it on a very rare basis, 1 out of that 3, I have to swim back to the boat and straighten that loop, because I always forget the thing is so long. So by the time I swim out of a cave or something, this thing is like bent right back. So I have to go back and straighten it, and I can't do it in the ocean. So I just swim back to the boat and I've just learned quicker, easier, does better. So to answer your question, afterwards, just have a crack at it. Just bend it, straighten it, get a feel for it, because
there's no way to replace spring or anything.
the spring is not going to go. It's like, to be honest with you, the way we make it is so tough that the only time you're going to stuff the spring is 2. You either have bent the rod, or you scuba diver or somebody similar. Say, for instance, when I'm down in Hamlin Bay, I don't know if anybody dive Hamlin Bay, but when you're in Hamlin Bay, a lot of it is those, the caves on the bottom is that sandy stuff. And I continuously, my snare fills with that sandy grid. That there, just hit the loop, like hit it on the side, let it drop out, because that sandy loop is what has done this. You know, that, or a combination of that and that together will do it as well. So what I'm trying to say is 99% of the time, if you look after the straightness of your round rod, don't worry about your spring. It's something else will go. You'll lose it, or something else will go before the spring.
What about the length of your snares?
Good question. I get that all the time. So we got the little baby, which is the little tiny one like this. I can't fit a spring in because physically the math doesn't work. Because of the length of rod that comes out of the back. Anyway, it doesn't work. So you can only put the wire rope and the round rod in it. The point of this is that's good for when you have a ledge, like when I go to Geraldton. There's a couple of places where you've got all these cackers, so you'll have like 1,000 crayfish in an area like this. And there's so many in a hole that you want to pull a few out to get to the big ones. Now, if I go in with a big old snare or something, I'll make a lot of mess. But with a little one, I can pull, flick them away, pull, flick them away, and I'm not actually touching, so I'm not scaring them. So I'll open up to get to the bigger ones. So that's where I use that. Now, the 1 meter loop has always been a favorite. I bought my first loop from, I don't know, anybody knows here, Hans Baylor, the guy that designed the Aussie reel, Barry. Anyway, Hans, the partner of Barry. He's an amazing craftsman, and he used to make loops here, and his loops didn't have springs, and I had his loop for ever, and it's a good loop. And then eventually it wore out, and that's probably when I started making these. You got the 1.2 meter. So for somebody that's really on a budget, myself personally, that's what I would buy. The 1.2 meters is the best out of everything because you have reach. So I haven't got terribly, like for instance, my mate Shane, he's got these orangutan arms and he can reach the wall. I can't do it. I wish I could, but my arms are too short, so I need a longer loop. So if you have long arms, then the 1 meter will be fine. But
that's a pipe length?
the pipe length is the length. So 1.2 meter is the best. So what I find with a 1.2, I can still get into those tight caves and I can reach to the very far back with a 1.2. Whereas with the 1.5, yes, I've got further reach, especially down south, you need the 1.5 because the 1.2 is too short and those jumbos are always too far back. Then that reach is important. So to answer your question, the longer the loop, the further. So in sandstone, the 1.2 and the 1 meter will do 90+% of all your cray diving. As soon as it gets to the 1.5 and a 2 meter, it is a nightmare to get the snare in and out of cracks and stuff. If you're very disciplined and you look after it, it will last a long time. But I find, I get this excited. I see the crayfish and I forget that the thing is a bloody loop in the back and I always bend it. So that's just me. And I'm sure that other people here would vouch for the same thing. Any other question? But the length of the loop is a very good question.
How do you look after you dive?
Say again, mate?
How do you look after the loop after you dive?
Oh, yeah, good question. What I do normally is I just take the hose when I wash it. Like same as my spear guns, I normally, I've got a tub. A little thing for anybody here is to do with a loop, not just a loop, but all your wetsuit gear. I used to use Dettol and what's the other chemical that you clean wounds with? Savlon. Is it Savlon? Not Savlon. Savlon. You know, the yellow stuff. And I used to use that, especially I used to work in Cape Town Docks, so it's a commercial dive, and they got sea lice. If you don't wash it, you will get sea lice. And it's exactly the same thing as pubic lice, and it's embarrassing to get it. So basically, wash your gear, and Dettol kills all those nasties. Today, I use in Coles and Woolies, you buy this disinfectant, it does the same thing. So what I'm trying to say is, all my spear guns and stuff I clean with a little bit of disinfectant or water. I don't go and empty half a bottle, just like a cap. So to answer your question, shove it in a hole with my disinfected water, this side, that side. And then afterwards, when I wash my boat off, I just put the hose here and I turn it around and I put the hose there. If you flood it from this side, that's a bigger opening and things will fall out. So especially your sand grid. So a very good question there is, how do you clean it? Just hold your hand like this, force the water, and it'll just push all that out if you dive in sand. So yes, that will make it last longer. Any other question, guys?
Well, check your light. What's the distance to the end of your light?
Oh, I normally like to put it here where my hand is. Listen, that's a very good question. Everyone that I know has a different theory on it. Stick to what works for you. I have guys that put it here in the far back. I put it always here because to me, is when I swim, that's the balance point. So when I swim, I don't know it's there. Whereas if you had it here, it's like so heavy, the thing is like an anchor. And I just want to be comfortable. So I put it there because I use it as like a suitcase lever. So that's me. Personally, I like my torch here. And I find that it is far enough not to blind the crayfish. And another thing about what I like about a torch mount like this, I've always buy that little cheap torch. When I'm up north and you hunt mulloway in caves, they love it. And the amount of time I have pulled off my torch because I forgot to take in a torch up north with me. And I just undo this, pull the torch out, and then I can hunt inside them caves for your snappers, not snapper, what do they call those things again? The redfish, whatever they call, forgot the name. And in caves with the torch. So then suddenly that loop that you left on a boat with the torch in, it saved me so many times. Any other questions, guys?
Should you ever use any lubricant on it or anything?
No, nothing. Yeah, because there's nothing dissimilar, so nothing can go wrong inside. So it's not like if, say, for instance, I used like some kind of brass or steel or something, say like a 3 or 4 stainless steel. I'm worried, oh shit, it's going to corrode inside. Then I'm going to say, hey, how about putting a bit of WD-40 in because I'm trying to stop the corrosion. Mate, I have gone expensive. I have not bought anything cheap in it. So everything in here is quality. So other things will rust before this.
So in terms of the spring pressure, so let's say you're in a cave, you've looped the crayfish. Is the spring pressure enough to hold the crayfish?
Yes, it is. And yeah, what we've done is we've played with a lot of different type of springs and to get it right. So 2 things. Like I actually had a guy that said this to me and to do with a spring pressure. He goes, something, can you make the loop smaller? Because then I can catch smaller crayfish. And I'm thinking, I don't know how to answer that one, but it's like, anyway, point of this is, so we took size crayfish and then I went and I took a crayfish that's about 5 to 10 mil undersize. You can still catch them with this and it won't be a problem. So what I'm saying is, it's better to get the crayfish in your hand and go, oh, it's not sized and throw it back than thinking, oh, this thing is because it didn't catch it, I lost my... So what I'm trying to say, this can catch an undersized crayfish, so 5 to 10 mil smaller than it was meant to be. But after that, if we've done our maths right, it should just pull out and swim off. It's a bit like a scape hatch that's 54. So I'm trying to sort of think, let it go, because you want to catch it again tomorrow. And the tension over here, it has got tension. So theoretically speaking, there's enough tension here to hold a jumbo of 3 kilos. So if it starts kicking.
And you still hold on to the rod, or do you want to grab him immediately?
If you haven't got a lot of jumbos, grab it. It's my thing. But if you're like me, you get a bit more blasé and you just like let it hang and swim up to the top. And if you lose it, then you wave it goodbye and you make peace with it. But if it's your first rodeo, I would say don't let that 3 kilogram cray go, like hold on to like a little baby.
So you'll be able to, so do you hold the back end to lock it in place so it doesn't open?
No, the spring pressure here is been calculated to hold a 3 kilogram cray. It's hard. It's theory, like that's just theory. Like we tried it and it works. I don't know. I haven't caught many 4 kilogram crays. I wish I could say I did, but I'll be full of shit if I did. It would be nice, but no. So what I'm saying, I caught a lot of jumbos with it, and it's not a problem. But I don't know what it will be on a 4 kilogram cray because I haven't caught one yet. Okay. Any other questions, guys?
The angle for the end.
Yeah. What happened, like I said before, is what we've done with our loop. We've designed it so it opens at a 90 degree. Now, the negative about a 90 degree is that no wire rope, if you go to any wire rope manufacturer, the first thing they tell you is you're not allowed to do it at the 90 degree bend because it doesn't work. So we have engineered this to go around the 90 degree bend as best as we humanly can because it's not meant to. But I find that if I don't do that and this stands on that side, the amount of crayfish you miss because it's out wide. So then, like for instance, if you're in a really tight spot, like say here, the crayfish is here, and I'm trying to turn it this way because the thing is opening on a slight angle, the cave is there, or there's a rock, and you can't get it, and then you just lost a perfectly good crayfish because you fumble it because you're trying to improvise, and as soon as you're trying to improvise, it's just getting too hard. So just buy something that works. So to me, it's like it's a tool for every job. And we all have done it. You buy something that's real cheap and it sort of works, but then afterwards you buy the real thing and you go, wow, this is easy. So it's just a bit like that. Any other questions, guys?
If a crayfish is up close in a reasonably easy spot,
yep,
do you generally find it easier to try go for it with just your hands or to still
to answer your question, I do both. I do everything, mate. I'll bite them if I could. It's that whatever advantage you got on the crayfish, take it. So there's no right or wrong. I find that I never use my hand in a hole around Perth where it carry lots of crayfish, even if I can grab. Because my theory is For every one crayfish you grab by hand, if I use a snare, I'll get 3 to 4 out of the same hole, because I don't offend them. I don't freak them out, because if you go like right on them, other ones go, geez, this guy's mad, and they're all gone. They're all bare there, and you go, huh, mate, there was 20 here. And your mate look at you and go, really? It's like, you know what I mean? So grab it by hand when you see there's nowhere for them to go. Like, for instance, I've got a place up in Exmouth. it's like a honey hole. They can't go anywhere. They just sit there. And you can swim an hour that way and come back, and they're still in the same spot. So there's those places. You don't need a snare. You can just grab them. But down here in Perth with the sandstone, I would always prefer to go gentle, because I'm trying to get more out of one hole means I have to swim less places to get other. So that's my answer. But now and again, I like a brawlers. Oh, I love diving with my hands, because it's up and close and personal, and it just gets you buzzing. So then I don't want a snare, because it's more about the whole, you know, you pull 7 crayfish out to get that one in the back, because you've seen the legs and you don't care. And these could be kilogram crayfish, but you know that's a 2.5 or 3 kilogram. So it's more about just that, you know, that adrenaline that pumps through your veins, and you just go, today's the best day ever. So then I'll just leave a loop, because it's more fun just going hard. Yeah. Any other questions, Guy?
So if you're grabbing with your hands, can you grab them by the antennas, or will they just break off?
I never grab by the antennas. We don't have crayfish with strong antennas. They'll just snap off. So I always say, bang them down onto the floor, like just like Saver Sisters had, just bang them down, like put right down and push them to the floor, and then yeah, just push them down into something, you know, headbutt them or whatever you do. Just get up close and personal, get them into a corner, and then pin them.
Hit them in both hands.
Pin them in both hands, whatever it takes. You know, if you have your mate look at him and go, please give me a hand. But, you know, you could push hard, like push them against something. So if you could say, for instance, this is a rock and this is a crayfish, push them in and then negotiate it. Don't try and do the finesse thing. You're not fast enough. It's, I think, force and just hit them hard and hold on for dear life and hope it goes good. And I'm not a big, I have done it, and now as I'm getting older, I don't do it anymore. I don't break legs anymore. I used to in the old days, if I couldn't get a crayfish, I'll break every leg till it can't hold, and I'll bring it out. And now I'm older and I get sleepless at night. I'm thinking, Jesus, Bert, that was a bit cruel, mate. It's like, you know, you should have had a heart. So that will come with everybody as you go more and more. You sort of like, you go back, wow, that was bad. But anyway, not proud of those moments. Any other questions, Guy?
Say if you go big jumbo,
Yep.
and all the way into the cave, then how do you?
The jumbos, most of the time, that's why I said first reconnaissance when you go into a cave, don't try and smash that big jumbo in the back. You're not going to get it. Get back out. Get this thing up here. Make your mind up how you're going to do it. Even if you dive 3 times and just see it, say this is from here to the tripod, and go, yeah, if I approach it from this side, I have a better angle. If I approach it from this side, dive 3 times, you're going to get it. But if you rush in like first time and you're just trying to smash, it's a bit like shooting doggies. If you're trying to swim down a doggy and shoot it, good luck, you'll never shoot a doggy. It's like, let it come to you. And the same thing goes for a jumbo. It's like, you have to look at it, make your mind up, go, okay, right, I'm going to go from this angle, and then I've got a bigger gap so I can get closer. So I've got my snare like this, and I'm like right up close and personal. I can see exactly, I can see where it's going to go, and I have a better attempt rather than just going in and smashing it and off goes into the abyss. So take your time. My advice is get this in your brain, how are you going to do it, slow down, make your decision, stick to the game plan, don't deviate. And also with cave diving, best thing is get your mates and tell them what you're going to do. Go, I'm diving down, like we got a place just out here, and I dive it with Andrea, and it's, you go into one, and it's your first chamber, and then you go through, and you go slip through, and then you go into your second chamber, you swing left, and then you swing, so probably from, oh, it's a long way in, like say halfway from this room, by the time you get to the back. And you get disorientated when you've gone through so many. So your mate know where you are. At least, you know, tonight when you, they can go and fetch you if need be. But you've talked to your mates about it. And also by just doing that, you slow yourself down, and you also see the magnitude of the situation. I'm taking my life in my own hands. I'm dumb enough to do it. Your mate is dumb enough to let you do it. And he's going to have to explain to the wife. or
You
the husband.
reinforce your own plan. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
saying is allowed.
Yeah. So, and then, yeah, you give yourself time because us men sometimes are a bit slow. We have to think a bit about things. Okay. I can't see. I've got my glasses on, but I'll take it. These just little tablet-looking things in a hat. So we'll pick one. My glasses. You did a good job. Thanks, Lauren. Dan.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
mate. There you go, mate. Enjoy it. And just one thing, I'll just show you. With this one here, it's just a quick release. So you just pull it and you just shake the crayfish out and it'll just open up naturally, obviously, if it's got crayfish. Or if you swim with fish or anything, even like sometimes when I haven't got an esky, I hang my fish, like if you get a couple of boldies or something and you've got the esky, just put it in here and just hang it over the side. And then I'll be engine it that way the sharks don't eat it. And then just pull it tight. That's your lock. And then all I do is I just put like a little child knot, or I don't know what this knot is called, a kitsch knot.
Slip knot.
Is it called slip knot? Okay, slip knot. One of those on, and then Bob's your uncle.
Cool. Thank you.
Mate, enjoy it. Yeah.
Like when you dive down into a cave and you see like all the little ones in the front, and then you got obviously the bigger ones further back.
Yeah.
Is it worth getting the little ones like out of the
Oh
way
yeah.
before you go
Oh yeah.
to
But you have to make your piece. What I normally do is telltales. Like if you see that little fur, and anybody that's dived all jumbos, you look for the fur on that little front feet. Don't worry about the rest of it. Don't look at the size. Just look at how much fur it's got on that front foot. If it's got fur on that front foot, do whatever you can to get it, because it is the one. So like up in Geraldton, a lot of the time you've got your cackers and they'll sit in the front, and then you work your way back to that one because you see that one leg and you go, that's the one in the back. And then you're trying to do as gentle as possible and just move out the crowd so that you can then get the snare or your hand or whatever to that back one. But I find that it's worth it, but you sacrifice obviously 3 or 4 possible size ones. So it's worth it. I mean, it's all, but that's the thing about crayfishing. I think it's the best dive training in the world. I don't care about dive courses or anything. If you want to be a good diver and you're a good cray diver, I've never met a good cray diver that's a bad spearer. It's just, I'm yet to meet that person. You're a good cray diver, you're going to be a good spearer because you learn about the ocean, you learn what happens when you do this, how they feed, how they live. Your head goes much deeper, like what the ocean is about. It opens up, you see weird things. It's what it's all about. I think crayfishing diving is the ultimate free diving training. I don't think there's anything better, personally. And thank you so much for coming. And like I said, Lauren, thank you so much for letting us use your venue, and Adrena for letting us have it. And the club, guys, thank you so much. It's without you guys, Old Man Blue, yeah, we wouldn't be here. So I really appreciate all your support, because I've put my heart on the sleeve out for you guys, and the support I got back from you, I'm tremendously grateful. It's my passion, and it's I always wanted to make something that other people can use and really get fun with. So thank you. Appreciate it, guys.